This video was largely inspired by Rad King's and Yeah Boy's videos about the rest of the world in the Fallout universe. I highly recommend giving them a watch. Within the Half-Life universe, we have a detailed exploration and history of City 17 and its surroundings, Black Mesa Research Facility and its surroundings in New Mexico, and the Aperture Science Enrichment Center and its immediate surroundings in Upper Michigan. But there are tons of references to and hints about places from all over the world. In Half-Life Alyx, there is a globe of the Earth that we can look at. However, it isn't a globe of the contemporary Half-Life universe, and instead appears to be from somewhere around the 1830s. This can be seen with things like the Ottoman Balkans, Single Dakota, Russian Empire, the use of Persia, and many other small details. Though it does indeed mention most places on Earth that you can think of. It does lack borders. However, Alyx appears to have instead drawn on the US borders with Canada and Mexico, as well as marking down the Suez and Panama Canals, and marking out the roughly defined borders of continental Europe at the Urals and Caucasus. This globe does have some extra info on it, so we will return to it later. In the City 17 Zoo, there are numerous animal exhibits with dozens of habitat maps. The animals are from countries and regions everywhere in the world. A lot of the other information in this video comes from all sorts of other sources, including dialogue, props, and other bits of the environment. Some of the references on the props may in fact come from the item's real-world reference rather than a deliberate world-building choice. Either way though, they will be included. For the sake of organizing information, everything will be discussed by continent. We will start in the Americas. References to the United States of America as a whole can be seen throughout the series. The American flag, for example, is seen in the security guard locker room in Blue Shift, as well as in an ad for the guards themselves in Half-Life 1. The Northern Petrol branded shipping containers in Half-Life 2 also mention the US on them. Several products in Half-Life Alyx, such as these screwdrivers and this VHS tape, were also manufactured somewhere in country. These plastic hazmat crates in Half-Life Alyx have US patent numbers on them. There are, however, far more specific references to more specific locations in the US. Very briefly, during the tutorial of Opposing Force, you are actually located at Santiago Military Base in Arizona, as described in the intro to the main campaign. The United States is one of the few places we have direct visual confirmation of the fighting of the 7-Hour War. Both in Half-Life 2 and in Half-Life Alyx, we see New York under attack by the Combine. Following the battle in New York, the NASDAO and the New York Stock Exchange were closed. Following the 7-Hour War, the Terminal would interview David Ransoman, who is from the University of Eastern Colorado's Political Science Department. As mentioned on the GLaDOS-approved plans of the Borealis in Episode 2, Aperture Science has another facility called the Aperture Science Labs and Administration-Assisted Jaunt Center, located in Cleveland, Ohio. The Rebel at Station 21 City in Episode 2 will talk about using a car to drive from Eastern Europe to the American Pacific island state of Hawaii.
Hey, don't worry about us. See this car? We're fixing it up and getting the hell out of here. Driving to Hawaii. Beaches, babes, and waves. Tell you what, if you ever get sick of this rebel crap, you know who to talk to.
Dr. Rebecca Heverly, who was consulted by the Times after the 7-Hour War, was a professor of behavioral psychology at Brown University, which is located in Providence, Rhode Island. This fire alarm, seen throughout Half-Life Alyx, has Lawrence, Massachusetts embossed on it. In Half-Life 2, Eli wears a sweater for Harvard University, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Gordon Freeman originally studied at MIT, or the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is in Boston, Massachusetts, prior to being hired at Black Mesa.
Right you are. MIT graduates are few and far between these days.
Good job, Gordon. Throwing that switch and all. I can see your MIT education really pays for itself.
All right, Barney.
Dr. Kleiner was also a professor there, as mentioned on the cover of his book. Both of them attending MIT is also described in the Half-Life 1 PS2 port manual. As well in the PS2 manual, Gina Cross is described as having attended Caltech, which is in Pasadena, California, and Colette Green attended Carnegie Mellon University, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. These electronics were assembled in the United States, with one company related to them being located in San Jose, California. As described in the Prima Guide, Gordon Freeman is from Seattle, Washington. Some portal activity appears to have taken place near the Yukon-Alaska border. As well, other portal activity seems to have taken place on the Ontario shores of Hudson's Bay. This postal box, or its sticker, was made in Canada. This sticker reappears on a Combine box. Greenland appears to have been hit hard with portal activity both in its north and southern part. Alex in Half-Life Alyx outright confirms that the Combine forcibly relocated the populations of North America to Eastern Europe. There was some activity in either the state of Goiás or Sao Paulo in southern central Brazil, as well as more portals happening in French Guiana and off the coast of Chile. Unlike other regions, Alex has not marked off South America, making it within the realm of possibility that she knows what has happened to some or all of the continent. Gordon Freeman would also spend time in Innsbruck, Austria prior to the Black Mesa incident. Specifically at the University of Innsbruck, as detailed in the Half-Life 1 PS2 ports manual. It is in fact this experience that allowed him to take the occupation we see him in Half-Life 1. And as Eli mentions in Half-Life 2, this experience gave him an edge over Judith Mossman for the same spot.
Fine scientist, Judith. She was up for your job at Black Mesa, but you edged her out with your Innsbruck experience.
Several ads that can be found on rain gutters in Half-Life Alyx advertise Austrian and German-styled windows for installation. This painting in the Northern Star is by Adolf Friedrich Erdmann von Menzel, and is of Tempelhof, what is now a suburb of Berlin, Germany, in 1846. On the rear of this construction sign at Gary's house is a package sticker from Deutsche Post. Deutsche Post is a domestic mail service in Germany. Dr. Jonas Allard, the author of Black Mesa White Lies, published a book previous to this one called CERN Gateway to Babylon, CERN being the super collider under Geneva, Switzerland. This painting by John Singer Sargent is of a mill in Pontresina, Switzerland in 1869. This alcohol is from Georgia. In Half-Life 2, you can find several Café Baltic shops. It's named after the Baltic Sea in Eastern Europe. Nicholas Brankin from the University of Helsinki was interviewed by the terminal following the war as well. This car advertised in the terminal, in Half-Life Alyx, is called the Riga, which is named after the capital city of Latvia. What looks like the Bulgarian flag can be seen hung up in this poster collection in Half-Life 2. The Chesterfield Lager and a handful of other alcohols seem to come from Rome, Italy. The floppy disk that contains Prax Wars in Half-Life Alyx has the Union Jack and its price is listed in pounds sterling, meaning it comes from the United Kingdom. These pieces of electrical equipment were made in Enfield, Middlesex County in England. They were originally the property of the East Midlands Electricity Board. Following the 7-Hour War, the London Stock Exchange was confirmed to have closed trading. So too was the Euronext exchange in Paris. L'Orchid Parfum operated in both Paris and Moscow, Russia. We know that sometime around the 7-Hour War, some form of portal activity took place on the European side of the Urals. Other rain gutter ads in Half-Life Alyx include a .ru website link, which is the Russian country code top-level domain for websites. This alcohol is from the Republic of Bashkortostan, which is a subnational entity of Russia, just on the European side of the Urals. You can see an outline of the Republic in the insignia at the top. The Chatka vodka brand comes from St. Petersburg. The Sunrise coffee found in the game appears to have come from either St. Petersburg itself, which is formerly known as Leningrad, or from the oblasts surrounding it. These two drinks, Limonade and Grunge, which can be seen across Half-Life Alyx, come from North Ossetia, Alania. More specifically, it seems to come from its capital, Vladikavkaz. North Ossetia, Alania is a Russian subnational entity, being located in the Caucasus Mountains. Throughout Half-Life Alyx, you can find a telegram sheet. The sheet specifically mentions in the bottom right Kostroma, Russia. This poster advertises Vologda butter, a type of butter that, as its name suggests, comes from the city of Vologda in the Vologda Oblast. This felt eraser was made in Russia. As stated previously, the populations of North America were forcibly located to Eastern Europe. Where the original citizens of Eastern Europe have gone is unknown. Based on the markings on the globe, Alyx appears to have marked off several Russian cities. Though the markings don't exactly coincide with these cities, it appears that she has marked off Vologda, Saratov in the Saratov Oblast, Petropavlovsk in the Kirov Oblast, in Simbirsk. The Asian side of Russia also saw portal activity, specifically near the Kamchatka Peninsula, seemingly in the Magadan Oblast. There was also some portal activity around where India, Nepal, and China meet in the Himalayas. The Prima Guide states that Odessa Kubbage frequently regaled other resistance members with tales of his military exploits, including his time as a Bengal Lancer. The Bengal Lancers refer to one of many army units from the mid-1800s to the mid-1900s in the former British Raj, mostly in what is today India and Pakistan. Dr. Jonas Allard frequently writes about supposed connections between scientific research and Babylonian magics. Babylon was a real, ancient kingdom located in what is now Iraq. After the 7-Hour War, the Shanghai Stock Exchange and Hong Kong Stock Exchange were confirmed closed. This ball mouse is made in China. And so was one of the electronics used in Alyx's multi-tool in Half-Life Alyx. The microwave that houses the Russells was made in South Korea. Uniquely, Japan was apparently completely disconnected with the rest of the world. This has left only speculation about the status of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Alyx appears to not know what has happened in East Asia, placing a question mark over Mongolia. Near the time of the 7-Hour War, there was activity around the Algeria-Mauritania-Mali border, as well as activity in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. At the time of Half-Life Alyx, Alyx is completely unsure about what is happening in Africa. Portal activity took place near the Western Australia-Northern Territory border. New Zealand was not spared, with something happening off the coast of the Northern Island. nor were the French southern and Antarctic lands, with some activity happening near them. Based on the globe, Alex is unsure what has happened to Australia. A few different products come from, or were made, or otherwise mention a couple of places. This floppy disk, for example, came from Japan, though was assembled in the United States. This monitor and this server were manufactured in South Korea for a company in New York City. The fact core at the end of Portal 2 tells several facts of varying truthfulness about places and governments from around the world.
Avocados have the highest fiber and calories of any fruit. They are found in Australians. China produces the world's second largest crop of soybeans. Roman toothpaste was made with human urine. Urine as an ingredient in toothpaste continued to be used up until the 18th century. The Tariff Act of 1789, established to protect domestic manufacture, was the second statute ever enacted by the United States government. The Mexican-American War ended in 1848 with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. In 1879, Sanford Fleming first proposed the adoption of worldwide standardized time zones at the Royal Canadian Institute. In Victorian England, a commoner was not allowed to look directly at the Queen due to a belief at the time that the poor had the ability to steal thoughts. Science now believes that less than 4% of poor people are able to do this. Edmund Hillary, the first person to climb Mount Everest, did so accidentally while chasing a bird. During the Great Depression, the Tennessee Valley Authority outlawed pet rabbits, forcing many to hot glue gun long ears onto their pet mice.
The predecessor to the modern versions of Russia and many other Eastern European and Central Asian states, the USSR, is mentioned throughout Half-Life Alyx using the Russian language acronym CCCP, like on this radio, and this advertisement for crabs. It is also referenced in this advertisement for alcohol. Several other Combine cities have been mentioned. On the train schedule in the train station in Half-Life 2, it mentions cities 8, 11, 12, 13, 15, and 16, with connections to City 24 and City 27. A citizen in the hall just before Barney's security room also mentions City 14.
Dr.
I
Breen
thought so
again?
much of City 17
I was hoping I'd seen the
that
last
I
of him in City
elected to
14.
establish
I wouldn't
my
say that too
administration
loud.
here
This is his base of
in the
operations.
citadel so thoughtfully provided.
In the canonically dubious Aperture desk job, Cave Johnson mentions the Aperture Science Competence Center.
Welcome to the Aperture Science Competence Center for our most gifted employees. I'm Cave Johnson.
In the similarly dubious Perpetual Testing Initiative for Portal 2, Cave Johnson, both in the original and in the alternate universes, mentions several other places.
It's Cave. Greg's telling me the number of possible alternate universes is literally infinite. Maybe there's one where, I don't know, the Greeks won World War II. Just a heads up in case you get to a test chamber and find yourself surrounded by urns. Oh, chariots. I've been thinking, what if Greg was right? What if injecting my consciousness into a computer robbed me of an eternal reward, spiritually speaking? All right, I just read up on it. Stumbled on a book about a fellow who lived thousands of years ago. Sacrificed himself to save mankind. Went by the name of Hercules. Destroyed all the world's monsters so humans would be safe. Then went to Olympus for his trouble. Damn it! Death was my monster. And I killed it. Where's my Olympus? Hello, test subject. As you are no doubt aware, the President is being held hostage inside the giant super prison on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. Every science facility in America has been tasked with producing a tough guy capable of breaking into Supermax Lantis. That's where you come in. I'm nominating myself, and I'm going to need some references. A test associate should be around soon to get a quote off you, so be as glowing as possible. Just a quick update on the attack of the killer ants. Apparently they tried to commandeer the entirety of our nation's sugar reserves in Kentucky. Big firefight at Fort Sugar Knox. Edge of your seat stuff. Anyway, that's as far as I made it through the movie before I fell asleep. So, if anybody's seen Attack of the Killer Ants, don't spoil the ending or you're fired. By the way, chariot. Hello, test subject. Just a heads up that our research into stopping all the Godzilla attacks on U.S. soil has been postponed indefinitely. Turns out it doesn't matter where you hatch a nest full of Godzillas, they just make a beeline straight for Tokyo. Should have seen those things go. Anyway, crisis averted. Now, everybody grab a dustpan and a broom. We gotta get rid of all these eggshells before the Nuclear Regulatory Commission shows up. Break 19, Big Box Cave Johnson here, hauling a freight shaker with a load of cold ones in the wagon down to Texarkana. Got 28 hours to get this done, so I'm putting the hammer down. Anybody hearing this, shake the bushes and give me your 1020. Also, test subjects, I'll be gone for 28 hours. Test on your own recognizance. I want to keep this channel clear, so do not use your CB radios. Cave Johnson, we're over and out here. Chariots. According to Greg, theoretically, there's an Earth out there made entirely of money. Plus, since there's an infinite number of Earths, that means there's an infinite number of money planets. So, I've done the math, and I figure the odds of finding this thing are 100%. Not now, Greg. That doesn't mean I want you to stop testing. But do keep an eye out for the moneyverse. And let me be clear, I'm talking about U.S. currency. You find a peso-verse, you just keep walking.
There are some behind-the-scenes appearances and mentions of real places in the Half-Life series as well. The bird's-eye view of City 17 in Half-Life 2 is actually New York City. The bridge that is immediately in view of the Citadel is actually the Williamsburg Bridge, with the other one being the Manhattan Bridge. You can even see the dark line where the Brooklyn Bridge and its on-ramps were edited out. This map prop, used in Half-Life 2, is a color-inverted and textless map of Bremerton, Washington and Sinclair Inlet, as seen in an earlier version of the map from the beta. Similarly, this map is another color-inverted and textless map of Eagle Harbor at Bainbridge Island, also in Washington. This is once again revealed in an earlier version of the map from the beta. In Half-Life 1's files are several unused framed images, one of which is the White House in Washington, D.C. This picture would end up being used in CS Office in Counter-Strike 1.6 and Condition Zero. Originally, there's going to be a brand in Half-Life 2 called Cafe American. This cut saw machine from the Half-Life 2 beta has a special help hotline for the US state of Illinois. Eli was originally meant to wear a sweater from Yale University. Yale University is located in New Haven, Connecticut. These posters intended for the Borealis arc of the original Half-Life 2 storyline contain outlines of the US state of Alaska, as well as an outline of the Antarctic. An unused skin for the model Interior Deco poster Notice 1G in Half-Life Alyx is a real-world poster from World War II describing the sentencing of 3 men to death for the sabotage of German occupation efforts in Vyshgorod, a city in the Kyiv Oblast of Ukraine. A large amount of the skyboxes in Half-Life Alyx are built off of images of The Hague, Netherlands, specifically the North Pier of Hart Beach near Beach Stadium. This can easily be seen in this developer daytime image left in the game. In a newspaper on Dr. Kleiner's corkboard, an image of the Hiroshima Peace Memorial following the nuclear detonation there in World War II is used to represent the devastation of the 7-Hour War.